What's up guys, my name is Ace, and welcome back to another gun guide. This is a series where I go into great detail with all of the stats of every one of the weapons in Black Ops 4 multiplayer. In today's episode, we're going to be covering the VAPR-XKG, or I'm just going to call it the Vapor throughout the rest of the episode. So first up, as always, let's have a look at the damage profile, which was just recently nerfed. With the Vapor, we get a damage profile of 34, 32, 29. This means it's always going to be a 5 to 6 shot kill in core game modes and a 1 to 2 shot kill in hardcore. Our rate of fire is currently second best in the assault rifle category, only beat out by the medics at 652 rounds per minute, and with rapid fire we can bump that up to 697 rounds per minute. Our statistical minimum time to kill without rapid fire is going to be 368 milliseconds up close and 460 milliseconds at longer ranges. This is quite slow, but I also wanted to have a look at the time to kill if you have rapid fire equipped, assuming you hit body shots. This time to kill is a little bit better at 344 milliseconds up close and 430 milliseconds within that 6-shot kill range. As for body armor, no surprises here. This behaves just like with all of the other assault rifles in the game. If you're shooting at a body armored enemy and you are hitting body shots, it's going to take you no more than 1 extra shot to kill. This brings us to ranges, and these ranges were actually just recently nerfed in an update a couple days ago. But with this, the maximum damage range for the Vapor drops off at 12.5 meters, but it still is a 5-shot kill all the way out to 30 meters. So just remember that 12.5 meter range, because that will be significant when we start looking at the high caliber headshot damage. With long barrel, all of our range values are doubled, which means we now get a 60 meter 5-shot kill, and there aren't very many practical lines of sight beyond 60 meters in this game, and therefore it's essentially always going to be a 5-shot kill with long barrel equipped. And finally, with suppressor, all of our range values are reduced by about 20%, which isn't too bad. There's just a very slight reduction with suppressor. As for hardcore, as you can see here, the 1-shot kill range extends out to 30 meters. With long barrel, we can double that all the way out to 60, so I would recommend long barrel if you're in hardcore game modes, and suppressor will reduce our range by 20%. This brings us to headshots, and headshots just got a complete overhaul with the Vapor lately. Pre-patch, headshots would matter without high caliber. Post-patch, unfortunately, they don't. We get a headshot multiplier of 1.1, which gives us a headshot damage profile of 37, 35, 31. And like I said, essentially what this means is headshots simply aren't practical anymore with the Vapor unless you're using the high caliber attachment. Now with high caliber, we get a multiplier of 1.41, which means we get a headshot damage profile of 48, 45, 41. And this is a little bit on the complicated side, but from 0 to 12.5 meters, that's that little range I told you to remember when we were looking at the range chart. 1 single headshot mixed in with body shots will help with high caliber. That's all it takes is 3 shots to the body, 1 shot to the head, you'll have yourself a kill. However, from 12.5 meters out to 30 meters, where it would normally drop off to that 6-shot kill range, within this range window, you need to land 2 shots to the head in order for high caliber to help you. So 2 shots to the body, 2 shots to the head will now be a 4-shot kill. Now beyond that 30 meter range, where it's a standard 6 shots to kill to the body, 1 single headshot mixed in with 4 body shots will make it a 5-shot kill. So it is worth noting, if you're really serious about getting headshots for the Vapor, maybe you're grinding those camo challenges out, it is often worth it to combine long barrel with high caliber, because that 12.5 meter range where that 1 single headshot helps, you can actually double that with long barrel, so now it extends out to 25 meters, and you'll be much more effective at getting those headshot kills. This brings us to Hipfire, and if you guys saw the previous episodes, this should be no surprise to you whatsoever. All of the assault rifles currently have the exact same Hipfire spread. As for idle sway, there is quite a bit of noticeable idle sway on the Vapor, which will definitely affect your first shot accuracy if you're trying to pick somebody off at longer ranges. The idle sway seems to be very comparable to the KN57. Moving on to recoil, the Vapor actually tends to lean a little bit to the left at first, and then it will kind of correct itself automatically going a little bit to the right, and it doesn't really kick vertically all that high. So essentially, when you're looking at your first shots, if you're just looking at firing like 10 shots at your enemy, because that's often all it will take, be prepared to pull a little bit to the right to counteract that recoil. As for our recoil with rapid fire, you can see that it has the same behavior, it's just magnified a little bit because there's less time for the gun to recenter with that faster fire rate. So you're going to get slightly worse recoil properties if you use rapid fire. Getting into our magazine capacity, we get a fairly standard magazine at 35 rounds with 105 total starting ammo, and unfortunately there is no option to use extended mags or hybrid mags on the Vapor. Our reload add time is the best in the assault rifle category at 1.47 seconds, and we also have the option to put fast mags on this, which will reduce our reload add time down to 1.12 seconds, which is nice, but it's not a crazy improvement like we saw with the hybrid mags on the KN57 in the last episode. Getting into our handling and mobility stats, our aim down sight time is standard for the assault rifle category at 300 milliseconds. And our base sprint out time is actually the fastest in the assault rifle category at 250 milliseconds. Keep in mind, all of the other assault rifles have a sprint out time of 300 milliseconds. With Gung Ho, of course, we can reduce this even more down to 175 milliseconds if we're hip firing out of sprint, but if we aim down sight to break our sprint with Gung Ho, we reduce that down to 0. For our movement speed, we actually have the fastest movement speed in the assault rifle category at 97.5%, so it's kind of in the middle between an assault rifle and an SMG when it comes to your movement speed. And for our aim down sight strafe speed, this is 42%, which is standard for assault rifles. However, with the stock attachment, we can bump this all the way up to 69%, which is significantly faster and will definitely help you strafing in gunfights. Now, if you want to maximize your aim down sight strafe speed, you do get another very slight boost from stock 2. It will bump it from 69% with just having one stock up to 74% with the second stock attachment. So that's going to wrap it up for all of the stats of the Vapor. Now I want to get into the attachments that I really like running on this gun, as well as some recommended class setups. For optics, I'm normally fine with the iron sights on the Vapor. I don't really have too much of a problem with it. But if I happen to have that extra pick 10 point, I will often throw on either a reflex or an elo sight. Because one of the big things I noticed is with these sights, you do get slightly reduced idle sway, which really helps with this gun because it does have quite a bit of idle sway, especially if I'm combining it with high caliber and I'm trying to hit my headshots. It is really nice to have that reflex or elo sight equipped. As for the other attachments for this gun, honestly, you can't go wrong with any of them. Personally, I tend to stay away from stock 2 because I don't really feel like it adds too much to the class, so stock 2 is kind of out of the question for me. And also, I tend to stay away from fast mags on this because it already has the fastest reload add time in the assault rifle category, and it's not like fast mag cuts that in half, it just makes for a slight reduction to your reload time. Now, my favorite attachment to run on the Vapor, and I'll run this 100% of the time on my Vapor classes, assuming I have it unlocked, this is high caliber. And the simple reason for this is we can significantly reduce our time to kill when using this, assuming we're hitting our headshots. Having a look at our potential time to kill with high caliber, up close within that 5-shot kill range, if we're hitting our headshots, we reduce our time to kill all the way down to 276 milliseconds, which is extremely good in this game, and that will be beating out most of the guns that you run into. In addition to high caliber, stock is always really nice for strafing in gunfights to make yourself a little bit of a harder target to hit. Plus, it can aid you with that left stick aiming where you kind of strafe into your shot. Stock is always great for that. Rapid fire is often nice to have as well. I would say not necessary by any means, but I do enjoy it because it will reduce your time to kill slightly. And then we have suppressor and long barrel. Now, suppressor is great if you have a class that's specifically designed for staying off the radar and flanking your enemies and stuff like that. So every now and then I will play with that playstyle. But generally speaking, I'm taking more of a head-on approach, so I don't bother with the suppressor. Long barrel is something that I would highly recommend for hardcore players. Absolutely every Vapor class you have, if you're a hardcore player, should have long barrel equipped. But for core game modes, personally, the only time I would really use long barrel is when I'm specifically going for headshots, and I will combine long barrel with high caliber just to make it so that I extend that range where one single headshot will help me, and I don't have to worry about hitting 2 headshots mixed in with my body shots in order to get a kill. One last attachment that you can put on the Vapor is the Operator mod, which is a bayonet. Keep in mind this requires you to use a wildcard, as well as it takes up 2 attachment slots, which means it takes a total of 3 of your pick 10 points, which is quite a lot. The bayonet just makes it so you get a 1-hit kill melee all the time, instead of a 2-hit kill melee if you're hitting them from the front. Personally, I would say the bayonet is absolutely not worth it. It takes far too many class setup points. If it were a standard attachment, I would probably recommend it, but the fact that it takes up 3 of your pick 10 points just makes it not worth it, in my opinion. So now let's move on to a couple great example classes that I have for you guys. This first one is designed to absolutely dominate face-to-face gunfights. With this, we're using the elo sight, which just helps us snap onto the head a little bit more effectively. We don't have to deal with idle sway quite as much. We've got stock to help us strafe in our gunfights, which is always really nice. Of course, we've got high caliber on there as well, so we can reduce our time to kill quite significantly by hitting those headshots. And we've got rapid fire just because rapid fire is awesome on this gun. For our gear, we've got stim shot just so we can get back in the fight as fast as possible after our previous fight. We're using the special issue equipment as we pretty much always do. We've got scavenger because this gun will burn through ammo fairly quickly, so I always like to run scavenger with the Vapor. Gung Ho just to reduce our sprint out time, and remember, if you break your sprint by aiming down sight, you will have a sprint out time of 0 when you're using Gung Ho, so that's great when you end up running into a face-to-face gunfight while being aggressive. And finally, we've got dead silence because I hate hearing my own footsteps and I like being able to hear what's going on around me. This particular setup, as long as you're hitting your headshots, will absolutely shred everything in its path. Next up, we have a stealth class. This one's really designed for staying off the radar and getting up into the enemy's flank. With this, obviously, we're running suppressor, so we can stay off the minimap all the time. Once again, we've got high caliber on there, so we can reduce our time to kill by aiming for the head. And we've got stock, which just helps us strafe in those gunfights. Our gear for this one is going to be acoustic sensor, which will just help with your overall awareness as you get up in towards the enemy's spawn or in towards their flank. We've got scavenger once again because you are burning through ammo. We've got dead silence, so we can sneak up on enemies and also we can hear them a lot easier. And finally, we've got ghosts, so we don't pop up on their radar. And with that, that's going to wrap it up for this episode of Gun Guides. Personally, I really love the VAPR. It's kind of that hybrid and middle ground between the SMG and the assault rifle category. And this gun does have a lot of great potential as long as you're running that high caliber attachment. Before the patch from a few days ago, you didn't need that high caliber and it was an absolute beast. Now it kind of relies on that attachment, but as long as you have it there, it's still an amazing gun. Of course, as always, I'd like to know in the comment section below, what do you guys think of the VAPR? Do you really like it? Do you dislike it? You somewhere in between? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Also, if you guys are interested in checking out some more gun guides from me, I will leave a link to the playlist down below. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.
Yeah.